What is going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. The video that I have for you guys today is video number 2 in the Easy Fence series, I guess, right? 2 videos, a mini series. There we go. This is video number 2 in the Easy Fence mini series. Or is it the Mini Fence Easy series? You get it. So this is video number 2. So for those of you just joining us, there is a first part to this video. Make sure you go back and watch it because there's a lot of information in there that you're going to want. Okay. I'm going to be skipping over some things that we did previously in another video. So make sure, like I said, you go back and watch. For one, you're going to want to know which scripts we're using, the spline placement version 1.3 and the Easy Fence script itself. You get those at my website. Like I said, I show you in the other video. So in case you're not getting the hint, go watch the other video first. Okay. All right. So for those of you who did watch the other video, congratulations. We are going to get started. All right. So like I promised in the other video, we are going to put down utility pole wires. Okay. Just like last time, we are going to use the Easy Fence version or the spline placement version 1.3. That's the spline placement that I'm using. You can use any one you want. Farmer Boys, doesn't matter. But we're going to be using a spline placement script to put down the utility poles themselves. And then we're going to be using Easy Fence to plug in the wires. Now, the concept is still the same, exactly the same as it was for the barbed wire fence or, the Easy Fence part of it. But the execution's a little bit different for utility poles. Now, with my utility poles, I'm going to pick this one here, right? That just has, simple 2 wires, nothing fancy. You can use any one of these. Doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm just kind of partial to that one, I guess. I don't know why. I'm weird. This here pack here, this is from Bullet Bill, by the way. This is the UK Telegraph pack, somewhere along those lines. So big thank you to him. This is definitely pretty nice that you have this to work with. One of these days, I will actually make my own, but for now, Bullet Bill did a good job, an outstanding job, actually. So there's no need to remake, what's already doing just fine. But like I said, I'm going to use this one here. Your setup might be a little bit different. The reason the execution is different on this one, if you remember back to the last video, when we put the wires, had to be a direct child of the post itself, right? So if you look at this, we have power lines, we have another power line here, we have high clip, low clip, we have a lot of extra stuff in here. All right. We can't have that in there. It's going to throw the script off. We can't. So we're going to have to do something a little bit different. That's why I'm saying the execution's a little bit different. Just trust me on this one. Okay. You'll be fine. I'll hold your hand and I will walk you through this and everything will be just ducky. All right. So I'm going to make a copy of this one just in case I screw the pooch and everything just goes to hell. I didn't kill my only copy of that power line. All right. So we got a copy of that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a transform group here. Okay. Like so. And I am going to get set up for running the spline placement script and putting these posts down. All right. So let's go up to scripts and we're going to go to spline placement create. That's going to create the additional transform groups that we need, which it did. Okay. I'm also going to go to create and I'm going to create spline because we're going to need that. All right. I'm going to drag that up into spline placement. So that's where that needs to be for that to work. Now I'm going to take the power line that I just copied. Okay, that doesn't look like it for some reason. What did I copy? Oh, 10 meter right there. Okay, and I'm going to pull that down into objects to place. Okay, now before I actually place these, there's something I want to do to this power line itself. If any of these guys remember what that step is? Anybody? The power lines. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to put those in their own transform groups, right? So I'm going to hit Control G and put them in a group because remember, we're just placing the posts. We're not placing the wires, but we do need to tell it where the wires need to go. All right. So I'm going to go and I'm going to delete these wires. Now take note of this wire here. It says electric wire 70 meters. So Bullet Bill was nice enough to put down the length of the wire. All right. Which is not always the case. It's a case a lot of the time. When it comes to fences, wires, that sort of thing. the author of that prefab, or, that whatever you happen to be using, will put down how big it is, whether it's, 2 meters, 4 meters, 70 meters. You get the idea, but it's not always the case. So again, that's one of the things that you want to go back to my other video, and I will show you how to measure that wire. Okay. Now, if you remember when I did the barbed wire fence, I put down my posts exactly the same distance as the wire, right? Because I had some detail work in my wire and I didn't want it to stretch it. But in this case, you can see there's really no detail. There's, it's just a plain old wire, plain Jane wire. So you can put these posts at any distance you want. It's not going to matter. Now I tend to keep mine still at the same distance as the wire, like all my utility poles. If I get a 70-meter wire, so I keep things how they are. But it wouldn't matter in this case. As a matter of fact, the last time I ran this script on my current map, I did not keep them at 70 meters and it was just fine. All right. So like I said, the only reason I changed that up is because on the barbed wire, I had some detail work and it would just look horrible if it stretched it and stuff like that. Right. And that's what it's doing, because it's just creating a copy of this wire and it's stretching it, as it needs to. All right. So like I said, we only want the group. We don't want the wire. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot here. We are. All right. So I can delete the wires, 70 meters. So I got to remember that is how big that is. All right. And we are good to go. So we can actually place down these posts now. Let me go to my spline placement script really quick. Okay. And we're going to go to scripts. Actually, we need to set that up first. Let's go to script editor. This is actually the second time I'm shooting this video, so my information is already still in here. So I get to cheat a little bit on mine. But anyhow, let's go up to spline placement execute. We'll set this up. So the object distance, like I said, I'm going to keep mine at 70 meters. But in this case, since it's a plain Jane wire, I can put that any distance that I want and it will turn out okay. But I like to keep things the way they are meant to be. So in this case, it's 70 meters. No object at start is true. Stay upright is true. Everything else is false until I get down to align with terrain. And then the next two are true. And that's it. We can save that. Okay. And then we can run that. We're going to close that. And then I can actually run that script. So let's go on script. And we go down to execute. Spline placement execute. It is not what I expected. What did I do? Is my spline? Oh my goodness. How come nobody stopped me? I didn't lay down my spline. What in the world? All right. So let's do that. Oh my God, Bauer, you need to get it together, man. I'm telling you. All right. So really quickly, let me lay down this spline since I obviously skipped one very important step. Oh, Jesus mighty. It's late. This is the second time I'm doing this. I just took it for granted that my spline was already done. All right. So what I'm doing here, like I said, I'm just laying down my spline so I have something that the script can follow, a path for my objects to follow. This is no different than I would do it on any other map, right? Obviously, I would take my time, not just do what I'm doing here and just kind of like slamming stuff down on the map. But no different, right? So I'm going to rough it in really quick just for the sake of speeding things up here since I forgot to do it in the first place. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh my goodness. That is so horrible. Yeah, I'm losing it. All right. So I'm not going to get crazy because of the extra step, the additional work that we need to do. Like I said, it's just for time reasons. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. All right. Now I can run this script. Now I'm done being an idiot and not making my spline. All right, so let's execute that one more time. I apologize for that. I really do. All right. If it makes any difference, the last time I shot this video, I didn't forget. So I guess we're good, right? That make up for it? No? Okay. All right. So it laid down my utility poles the way I would expect them to, right? No issues. And it is just a post, just like we wanted to. Okay, just like we wanted, no wires, because we're going to use the easy fence script to put down the wires. All right, so that part we're done with, all right? So let's go to placed objects. I'm going to need some information there. We are going to set up the script for the easy fence itself. First, I want to know how many objects it put down, which it looks like it's going to be 10. All right, and the reason I know that is I go up to my placed objects and I clicked on the last object in the list. And then I'm looking up here at my index path, and that last number behind that vertical pipe is a 10. So I know it put down 10 of them. All right. So let's go up the window. Let's go up to script editor. And then we're going to set up our utility pull wires. All right. So our wired node count is 2 because we're only putting down 2 wires. All right. Now for the fence wire, if you remember, it can be that fence wire could be anywhere. It doesn't matter. Anywhere in your scene graph that could be part of an existing fence. It doesn't matter because the script is going to create a copy of that wire. So you're not going to ruin anything by picking a wire that's in a current fence or anything like that. So in this case, it's going to be 56603. I'm grabbing the ID from right here. Just highlight it, grab the ID. That ID is already in there for me, but it'd be right here under fence wire, right? So I would highlight that, Control V, which I just screwed it up. So let's copy that and do that again. I should just left it alone, but that's all right. So the wire length we know is 70. If you needed to measure yours, that's where your measurement would go, just like last time. And like I said, I can't stress enough if you're just joining us to watch the other video, because I'm skipping some information that I don't want you to be lost right now, wondering what the hell is going on. The fence transform is going to be a little bit different, so I'm going to skip that one for right now. So that's going to change. My max post is 10. All right. If you got 50 posts that you lay down, that's what's going to go there. All right. So I'm going to save this for now, but we have one more step that I'm going to do here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to create, and I'm going to create another transform group. All right. You're probably scratching your head at this point thinking, what in the world is this guy doing? We can't run the easy fence script as it is, because like I said, if you open up these power lines, there's a lot of extra junk inside of here. Not junk, it's stuff that the power line needs, but it would confuse the script. See, if you look at the script, how do I want to do this? For those of you that would, know how to read like Lua or any kind of code for that matter, that can read this, it would make sense. Like if you're looking at the get child at post, get back to post, and then you get child at your fence transform. All right. So here's our fence transform. What it's doing is the maximum number of posts. It's telling it how many times to loop through the entire thing. And if the wire node count is telling it how many times to loop through each parent. So it's going to read the parent. It's going to do that 10 times. It's going to get to the parent, and then it's going to loop through twice, right? So we got 2 childs, and then it's going to go down to the next one. It's going to do this 10 times. So basically, those of you guys that are familiar with reading and writing code should be able to figure this out with no problem and figure out what needs to get done to make it work. But for those of you who are not familiar with reading, writing code, or Lua for that matter, just take my word for it. This is how it works, right? It's just the way it's going to get done. So like I said, it's not going to work in the way that it's set up now. And just looking at the code will tell us that this isn't going to work. So there's an additional step that needs to be done. So we're going to create our new transform group here, right? And that's going to be the parent group. It's going to hold everything. And then under placed objects, all right, let me placed objects, right click, expand all. There we go. All right. I'm going to close my console. Really quickly, what I want to do is that new transform group that we made, I'm going to take that ID from that. I'm going to copy it because that's going to become the ID for our fence transform. All right. So I'm going to copy that ID in there. All right. Now I'm going to save that and close it. Okay. So under my placed objects, now I have that opened up. All right. Everywhere I see these power lines with these 2 group names underneath it with the 2 wires, I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to highlight all of these because I am going to move them. All right. So I'm going to go down the list here. I got to do this 10 times. Now make sure that you're grabbing the right thing. All right, where it says power lines, 2 group names, because it's going to screw up the script if you grab anything differently. Okay. The thing I hate about this is each time you highlight it, it jumps back up. If you watch, it jumps back up to the top of the list, and you got to scroll back down. Unfortunately, it's what needs to get done. All right, did I just do something different there? Making sure I'm not screwing something up. Nope. kind of throws me for a loop sometimes when it jumps up top there. All right, but like I said, we need to move these out into their own transform group for the sake of the script, to get the script to work. All right, now normally, or not normally, but what would be a nice way to do this, so maybe you'll find a way to make this work. What you could do, or as I've tried in the past, is these power lines. I gave it a unique name, and then I just searched for that name. So just those results came up. Now, the only reason it didn't really work for me in that case, you can make this folder here. You can make that new folder that we made. You can make that the same name so it shows up with the results. And then you can probably really quickly just highlight everything, because we need the middle mouse button. We need to click on, now that we have them highlighted, we're going to use the middle mouse button and we're going to drag them into that new transform. Okay. That's an important step. Don't try to copy paste. Don't try to cut and paste. All right. So like I said, if you try to figure out an easier way to move those, you have to use your middle mouse button. Don't try to cheat the system there, because it's going to screw everything up. And the next thing I know, I'm going to be, in the comments section answering questions of why it probably didn't work for you. Okay. And that would be why. Make sure you use your middle mouse button. It should look just like it is here. It should be in its own parent transform group. And then it should be the power lines, and it should be two empty groups that represent the wire. Power line, two groups, right? Like I said, if you look at the code, it'll tell you how this needs to be set up for the most part. I guess you kind of need to know how to read it, but trust me on this one. And it's 10 times, 10 different wires. And the 2 is the node count. So it knows how many times to loop through each parent, right? So it goes through 10 parents, and for each parent, it loops through twice. And there you go. Trust me on that one. All right. All right. So now we are set up, right? So this power lines here kind of represents the post for the barbed wire fence. Right? It doesn't need to be an actual post. It doesn't need to be an actual utility pole. It just needs to be some kind of parent transform group, right? It doesn't actually have to represent a physical object. So that's all we really need, right? From there, let's run it and see what we get. So we're going to go up to scripts, utility pole wire. Okay. I did see that show up, so I'm going to go in the transform, and there we go. Okay. Just like that. All of our wires. And if we go down here and we take a closer look, I'm going to click off of them so you can see, and you can see how perfect it is too. All right. And you know as well as I do, if you've been doing utility poles, for me, utility poles are a love-hate relationship. I love having them on the map. They look really nice, but I hate putting them down. It's not the end of the world, but if you have like your terrain is not smooth, it's hilly, you're constantly having to put it down, rotate it left, rotate it right. Sometimes, I'm having to stretch my wires depending if I need to pull in a specific place or not, and I'm having to tilt it. It's just, man, it's tedious. And if you have lots and lots of them to do, it's a whole lot easier to do it this way than it is to do these things by hand, right? It's completely accurate. Doesn't matter how far apart you made the posts, they're all still going to be this accurate. And it just did an absolutely gorgeous job. All right. So now the only difference is your wires are in a different transform group. So if you need to come back and move something, right, it's going to be in a different, your wires are going to be a little bit different transform group than the post itself. So if I needed to move this post right here, right, you can see it would be just the post. Now, if you wanted to, you can go by one and drag them back into their transform groups where they originally came from. That's nothing that I'm going to be doing, at least not any time in this century. I'm not about to start doing that, but you can if you want to. If you think it's going to be an issue and you need to do that, then yeah, I guess you can do that if you need to. You just kind of need to keep that in mind, though, that your wires and your posts here are no longer together. But for me, that's fine. That doesn't matter. I would take this transform right here, and I would dump that in with my placed objects, which is all my fences here, or my posts, I'm sorry, my utility poles. All right, so now it looks good. And then from here, I'd take my placed objects. I would rename that, I don't know, rename it something like utility wires 1 or whatever. Put that in a separate transform group, and I would do it all over again. I'd keep doing it as many times as I needed to. Now, the thing with this is when you're, because I always keep in mind that I have to drag them out, that I have to highlight all of those in a scene graph and drag them into another transform group. So if, you might want to watch how many posts you do at one time. All right. So this is where it's nice that Easy Fence is set up in a way that you can do it in smaller chunks. Right. And we went over this in the last video that you can do 10 at a time if you want, 30 at a time, 40 at a time. All right. Now me, I didn't learn that lesson. Right. I didn't heed my own advice on my last map, and I did God knows how many of them. So it was, it was a pain trying to highlight them all and, drag everything out. All right. But it is very, very simple script. So keep that in mind if something doesn't work. Okay. Let's go back in here with the real script real quick. We're going to go back into the script editor. So if something doesn't work, if you run the script and your wires don't show up the way you want them to, all right, chances are some of your information here is wrong. All right. So you either got the wrong ID, something is not right. Double check, triple check all your information to make sure it's right, because there's a good chance that's what's going wrong for you. All right. If everything is right, it's probably somewhere in your data set, meaning the objects that you're trying to place. All right. So maybe you did like a cut and paste and copy paste instead of using your middle mouse spine. All right. That'll make a difference. Trust me, your wires might execute, but they might be somewhere else on the map. All right. So that's probably what would end up happening there, or it would just throw some sort of error. All right. But as you can see, you can plainly see that it works. No problemo. And it looks great. And it saved me a ton of time. All righty. So like I said, hopefully you guys are going to try this out with your own utility poles. And hopefully you get the results that I did, right? Save yourself lots of time on your next project. And that's it. All right. So like I said, if you guys find this information helpful in any way, shape, or form, please, like and subscribe. That really helps me out, helps you out in the long run too. You'll be notified whenever I put out a new video. And that's it. I'm going to leave you guys to it. Go ahead and give it hell, right? Give it a shot. You'll be glad you did. All right. With that being said, I'm Bauer Brown. I will see you on the next one.